Shouldn't be drinking all this coffee, but I'm not. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We'd like to welcome you all to tonight's broadcast. Well, first, let me start. I'm sorry. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkal alayh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyati a'malina. May yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sayyidina wa habibina al-Mustafa Abduhu wa Rasuluhu. We'd like to welcome you all to tonight's broadcast of the Black Imams Roundtable. I'm Imam Faheem. I'm your host with the most from coast to coast tonight, inshallah. I'm with my comrade, fellow Imam, fellow amigo, Imam Amin Muhammad of Masjid, Imam Amin Muhammad of Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City, alhamdulillah. And we're waiting for the genius to arrive, inshallah. So while we're waiting for our third amigo, please be sure to share this on your platforms and on your pages, and also make sure you like, inshallah. And we appreciate all of you tuning in, giving salams to everyone who's tuning in. We appreciate your presence tonight. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and make this gathering that we have tonight full of benefit. And also don't forget, as a request from us every week, we request a minimum of $10 from each of us, inshallah ta'ala. You put the link across the screen, Imam.
Oh.
Yeah, so please try to donate generously. As Trey 45, Trey fam, y'all special people, you know what I mean? Y'all 2-to-1 favorites, 10-to-1 favorites. It takes 50 people to match one of y'all. So that's how you guys should carry when you donate your money. Donate for 2, donate for 5, cover 10 people, inshallah ta'ala, and help us to continue growing, inshallah ta'ala. All right, so while we wait on the genius, inshallah, we'll go ahead and start. Tonight's topic, we're going to be discussing the event that we had last Saturday in Philadelphia, and when we were exploring the Creed of the Salaf. We had it in South Philadelphia. I forget the name of the location, but it was a very fruitful event. Alhamdulillah, we had a good turnout. And this is an event we do every month, in various places with our beloved brothers and sisters from Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat in Philadelphia. And so last week we did it at another location. And alhamdulillah, it was very fruitful, and the discussion was very good. And, Imam Amin covered a lot of great points, brought out a lot of stuff. And, Imam Naeem really, as was expected, he brought the house down. And, as I don't know those of you who were able to watch it or not, or went back and watched it, I had mentioned that I wasn't really, I was coming to listen to my sheikh and my teacher, which is my fellow Imam over here, to I don't know how to go. Yeah. To on the screen. I don't know if it's left or right. On the screen. So I really came to sit in the audience, which is doesn't happen quite often. But I was there for support. And so I didn't really talk much. But as the topic, it started to, become alive, there were a lot of interesting points we mentioned, And so we're going to just review some of those things tonight, inshallah ta'ala, just reflect. One of the things that, that I had mentioned is that, when we talk about Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we have to talk about those who are in opposition to it. And, many of us, we talk about the Wahhabis, we don't try to make it a thing that all of our discussions are about them, but we do have to mention names because of clarification. And one of the things that we mentioned is that in Philadelphia, it's one of the last strongholds for these Wahhabis. If you come to Philadelphia, and you'll often hear about Germantown Masjid and Mukbil and Bin Baz and all of these things. And I also mentioned in our city of Camden, New Jersey, You know, we have one of those, the Wahhabi masjids is actually named Masjid Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, you know, or Spruce Street for short. We just call it Spruce Street. That's the name of the street that it's on. So, you know, and in this area, there is a concentration of these particular brand of Wahhabis, and, you know, some of the, you know, harm that they have caused with respect to Al-Qaeda and how they were allowed to, you know, infiltrate, you know, a great city such as Philadelphia, and, you know, a city that has a rich Islamic history, you know, how they were able to infiltrate it with this, you know, with this Wahhabi concepts, you know, which were, if you look at their methodology, a lot of it is, you know, some of the ways of the Khawarij, you know, the ways of the Khawarij of the past, you know, and some of the signs of how, you know, they undermine authority, they attack Muslims, they leave the kuffar alone. You know, their battle is always with the believers, you know, and about issues, technical issues. You know, everything is shirk, everything is bid'ah, everything is astray. You know, they're most literal. And, you know, you can go back and study the characteristics of the Khawarij, you know, that they were people whom, you know, outwardly they had all of the trimmings of what a believer would look like. As the Prophet ﷺ had described them and say they would have big, you know, marks protruding from their forehead. And, you know, they would have, you know, their eyes sunken in, you know, from not sleeping, you know, great outward appearances of ibadah, but in their hearts, you know, that they didn't have anything, you know. And anybody who's had experience with these people, you know, they're just like that. There's always attack on the Muslims and what they're doing wrong. And the non-Muslims have more honor with them, you know. And there are many stories that we can relate, you know. But I just remember when I was a part of that Wahhabi movement as being a default Wahhabi, you know, and didn't really know any better. One of the things that now I recall is that the voice of Ahl Sunnah wasn't as loud as it should have been. The voice of Ahl Sunnah wasn't allowed as it should have been, because some of this stuff could have been, you know, repelled, you know, early on. And then there were some signs that, you know, but I wasn't equipped Islamically with any Islamic knowledge to know kind of the, you know, what was really going on, you know, because I remember some of the brothers, they used to come to Camden, New Jersey from AICP of 45th Street. And they used to have these pamphlets, you know. And I remember on the pamphlets, used to always say, Allah exists without a place. Allah exists without a place. And I used to read the pamphlets, and they were very, very informative, I remember, you know. And I just could never, the English transliteration that they use, it always just threw me off, the way they, you know, and I'm sure it's a method to how they do it and why, you know, but that always threw me off. But the concept was really always in place. And when I used to think about it, you know, wow, you know, Allah exists without a place. That makes a sense. Like no place can contain Allah who's subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the creator of places and spaces and time, you know, so it made all the sense in the world. But, you know, there was an assault on it right away from people who would seemingly had the, you know, the correct tawheed, you know, the pure tawheed and the correct methodology, and they were refuting that right away. And some of those voices weren't really loud. And I think if it would have been, you know, some of our people who were able to speak up, you know, it would have went different, because the brother, I was talking to Imam earlier, as Sheikh Giyad. I remember that name, but I never met him. You know, I just heard of him a couple of times, but he wasn't African American, you know, and there were no African American brothers around to really, you know, walk people through and take a stand against that Wahhabi stuff, you know. And so I know for a minute when I started, you know, learning the true tradition, you know, I was kind of upset. And I'm like, man, how did all of this stuff bypass me? You know, how did all of this stuff, how is it not known? And then how is it that these so-called people who are supposed to be knowledgeable, you know, they don't know this stuff, you know? And then I started putting two and two together. No, it's all right. I didn't early on, I didn't equate Salafiyah with the Wahhabi movement. You know, I didn't really know what Wahhabis were, you know. So it just, you know, I just thought it was, but, you know, I thought it was just a bunch of niggas, man, messing up the deen, you know. And, you know, I seen that when I started seeing that stuff, just bad behavior, just, you know, just it's bad, you know, just bad stuff in the street, you know, and the people supposed to be reformed by this religion is still doing things that I knew that raised a red flag, you know. And it took me some time to make a connection that there was a methodology, there was an ideology behind that, you know, because the Islam that I had learned prior before engaging these people, man, was beautiful. Like, you know, and these brothers can attest when you learn, you know, when you get practice deen in the jails and the prisons, you know, there's a special kind of brotherhood that's there. You know, people are strong, people are studious, they're striving. You know, brothers have so much heart, so much, you know, valor, you know, so much zeal, you know, and it's hard to find on the street sometimes, you know. And so when I used to see this kind of behavior, you know, I was already exposed to a good, you know, being exposed to a good practice of Islam. I had some elders, you know, that did the basics. You know, they didn't have a lot of knowledge, but they gave you the shirt off their back. You know, their word was their bond. They meant what they said. You know, they honored people. They didn't cuss. They kept themselves clean, and they were stand-up people. You know, so that was who I learned under before I embraced this Wahhabi kind of doctrine. You know, and then just to see it, how it, you know, it went to a certain point where in Philadelphia, it was just like the dominant kind of methodology, you know, in Philadelphia, you know, and and I used to be upset now and in retrospect, thinking like, what happened to the Ahl Sunnah voice? And the only person I used to hear, you know, was our beloved Ustad Sheikh Abdul-Rahman Asandalani, you know, may Allah preserve him. You know, he was like the only voice that I heard. And then I heard other voices, but they weren't loud, you know, but they were knowledgeable people, but they weren't, you know, and in a sense, I understood where they were coming from. Now I look back, they just felt like it was a waste of time. And then you allow, it's like, you know, if you, you know, you leave your door open, you know, some stray animals to come in your house. And the next thing you know, it's like it's like a Game of Thrones. You don't close your gate, man. It's those, what is it, White Walkers, Night Walkers? You know, they come in there and then they can't be stopped. There's too many of them. You know what I mean? They can't be killed or nothing like that, you know? So, and that's what kind of happened in Philadelphia. And then it spread over into Camden. And then just throughout places where I used to travel, it wasn't as bad as it was in Philly, you know, because New York had a different kind of vibe. North Jersey had a different kind of vibe. Then, you know, going to places like DC and Virginia and, you know, North Carolina, you know, these people were Wahhabis, but at least they had some kind of manners, you know. And but it was just a default Wahhabi methodology where everything was incorrect. Every practice had to be, you know, proven by authentic, you know, hadith. You know, nobody knew hadith science. You know what I mean? Everybody's relying on somebody else's checking, all that kind of stuff. And so it turned into a nightmare. And then starting to see all of this, you know, all these refutations and, you know, and then it was like, you know, people just started attacking each other over the most frivolous of things, you know, and that's when I kind of realized, yeah, this is something else, you know. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the door for me to, you know, leave that movement, you know. And actually I got thrown off the minhaj, you know. I didn't leave, they put me out. You know what I mean? But, you know, I didn't get put out. You know how somebody kick you out of a building, you fall on the ground? I didn't fall on the ground, you know. So I just kept walking. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, made a path to meet people like Imam Amin and Imam Naim and other people, you know, Ustad Abdullah Ibn Hamid, you know, met people like that who were, you know, teaching the traditional Islam. And so I just had to, you know, throw the yoke off of that Wahhabi stuff off my neck, you know, and then just keep striving and striving and striving. But still in this area, even though the movement has kind of subsided a bit, you know, there is still a great presence of these Wahhabis in Philadelphia and all over the country, you know, and, you know, they're in different places. And this is why it's important when we have these talks about Aqidah, because we all need to be well-grounded and well-vested in what we believe in to be able to counter this stuff when we have to, you know. And there has to be a counter to it, you know, because even now there's still some type of thing where, you know, someone graduates from Medina, we think that they, you know, like they've arrived, you know. And I remember one of the teachers now that used to be a Wahhabi. He told me, he said, I spent all those years over there in Medina. He said, and I didn't get educated. I got indoctrinated. He said, I got indoctrinated, and he said, I thought I was learning the true way until, I got out of there, and there are a number of people and personalities who are, and one of the drawbacks of that movement is that people are having a hard time, accepting that they've been bamboozled, having a hard time accepting that they've been bamboozled, still trying to find some kind of validity in the movement. Okay, I'm not with that Salafi stuff, but I still think this is pure Tawheed with these three onenesses. I like that, Imam Naeem. This triple Tawheed, these three onenesses, and whom they call a scholar, and still thinking that Saudi Arabia is the standard for how Islam is supposed to be, and there came a time where I realized that you had to throw all of that stuff away, and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever benefit we got, but understand that it was all after all those movements, because Imam Amin mentioned something at the meeting we had. He asked people in the audience, how many people been through like a couple of movements, like through the nation, through Darul Islam and, the Fuqara Jamaat and the Ansar and all those kind of movements, and there are some people who have been through a few movements. And then like this movement, came following the Salaf, the first three generations, the righteous, this gotta be it. I've been here, I've been this gotta be it. And it wasn't it. It wasn't it. It was a cult, it was a movement, it was a splinter group from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that sounded good, that at least had a little more validity than some other groups by way of people knowing a little more Arabic and a couple of sciences of Islam, but underlying that, it was just another deviant movement, And so when we discuss these issues, and Imam Amin gets very passionate about it, as rightfully as he should. It's very important for us to try to match that same kind of energy and getting passionate about this stuff and knowing these things and knowing the dates and knowing these scholars and knowing these time periods. And, it's very important because that's how we really got to fight this movement, because we got to look at another 10, 20 years for this thing to really turn around. And the only way it's going to happen is that people like us are really active in spreading the true Islam and countering the false Islam, because it still rears its ugly head, because there are some places in Philly that, that's just how it's going to be, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove it, that's how it's going to be. That's their stronghold. They're going to be there. They're going to be producing that. They're going to isolate themselves. Everybody's on the deviant list except them. And then inside their private group, they got another private group that talks about the other group. And they got all tapes on each other. It's like, you ever seen that one of the movies where all the cowboys are sitting at the table and they playing cards, and then they got one hand under the table with the guns pointed at each other. So that's what they're doing. So it's, we just watch them destroy themselves, but what we can also, put them down. I'm not, and I'm just talking. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not saying like go beat nobody up. I'm just saying like put them down with knowing the right Aqidah and teaching it and promoting it, and keep spreading it, inshallah ta'ala. All right. Yeah, I kind of spoke for a minute, man. So that might be all you get out of me tonight, man. Yeah, but as we review and reflect on this meeting, because there's going to be a few more. We're always going to discuss this, inshallah, because it's very super important for us to really know this, to have proper belief and have certainty in it, inshallah ta'ala. All right, so I'll stop there and I'll pass it to the genius.
Assalamu alaikum.
Not so fast. Pay your toll, please. Pay your toll.
Nah, this is payback. This is revenge.
You can't be revenging every single week.
Nah, this is revenge for you depriving us this morning. This is payback. I said, you know what? I'm here, but I ain't logging on because Imam Amin didn't give us our dose this morning. So I'm just be here. Alhamdulillah. Imam Amin didn't give us our dose this morning. So I'm just be here. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa afdalu salatu wa atamu tasneem ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa radiyallahu ta'ala ana sadati tabi'een wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arabat al-mujtahideen wa muqallidihim ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah, for my few minutes in my opening spiel, if you will, I want to talk about why this, not just the last one, but really all of these Philadelphia meetings are significant for me. Everyone knows I'm not from Philly. Well, you should know I'm not from Philly or Pennsylvania. I'm from New York. But I moved to Philadelphia in 2006. And I moved from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh in 2012. I didn't know it yet, but in hindsight, I realized that living in Philadelphia was training for me on dealing with the Wahhabis. I didn't know it at the time, I just moved there, but it was training for me. And because as Imam Faheem so accurately described, Philadelphia, when it comes to Wahhabis, is a different animal. It's different than the Wahhabis in any other city. Just to give you an example, there was a conference in Philadelphia at the convention center. I forgot exactly what year. It might have been like 2010 or something like that. I think it was one of the two MANA conferences that was done in Philly. And so, a lot of people was there from out of town. And so obviously a lot of people from New York were there. And I remember seeing a brother, obviously I ain't gonna mention his name, but he's a Wahhabi. And so we catching up. Salam alaikum, how you been? Where you live here now, right? Yeah. All that kind of small talk. Now, mind you, he's a Wahhabi, but he don't know really anything about Philadelphia. So he's like, what part of Philly you living in? I hope you ain't living in Germantown. They crazy over there. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, but you in my mind, I'm like, you Wahhabi like them. What? You're like, nah, man, they different over there. We ain't like that back home. They different there. I was like, subhanAllah. That to me, that was a moment where it made me reflect how Philadelphia is so different. A lot of you that never been to Philadelphia, it can be like a culture shock. It can even be like one of those moments. You remember the movie Harlem Nights? Remember when Sunshine was finessing the white dude who was the carrier for the other guy? I know people, literally, some of them may be watching now. I know people who basically came to Philly, seen all the sisters. It was like, quick, put your mama on the phone. Listen, honey, I ain't never coming home. Kiss a kiss for me. Philadelphia has that effect on people if you've never been to a city like that.
I'm sorry, you can't find another example. You are too.
Hey, how you doing? It's Richie.
I know people who've done that because it's like Islamic wonderland. It's like, wow, like when I first moved there, one time I was coming across the Walt Whitman Bridge. It was assistant in Kemar that was a toll collector. That's amazing for people that never been, in that area. It's like, wow, a Muslim sister with her Kemar on and working in public. Wow, One time I was driving down one of the back streets in South Philly, and it was like 10 Muslim sisters, all covered up, walking somewhere. Coming from New York, I asked a question. I was like, is it masjid around here? It was like, nah. I was like, an Islamic function going on around here? It was like, nah. And I'm like, well, why all these sisters together? Like, it didn't hit me yet that they probably just live around there, right? Is that much concentration of Muslims in Philadelphia, as Issa said, is memorizing if you're not used to it, if you haven't been prepared for it. So you'll see all of these Muslims all over the place, not necessarily going to a masjid or something Islamic, but it's just Muslim in all walks of life. You come there, you find out certain city council people is Muslim. You know, one time back, uh, back when I used to fly between Pittsburgh and Philly, you know, a lot of people outside of Philadelphia, they're like really scared to give you the salam, you know. And so I remember I was coming across the raceway, you know, a little thing that connects to the airplane when you board an airplane. And I seen a Muslim brother. He was clearly Muslim the way he was dressed, and he looked like he worked there, right? So I see him from a distance as I'm boarding the plane, and so I tell myself I'm going to give him the salams when I get up on him real close. Well, before that happens, he saw me and he was like, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Aki. I was like, oh, you ain't scared? Well, I can't be scared. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Aki. Right? It was right. So I'm like, man, you know, this Philadelphia thing right here, right? You know, so Islam is out there, it's open, and you know, they say that there's no black household in Philly that don't have a Muslim in it, or a family that doesn't have a Muslim in it. And I believe that's true. And so if you're not used to a place like that, Philadelphia, you know, can have one of them call home, I ain't never coming back home, send my stuff in the mail. I ain't never coming back home moment. So I moved to Philadelphia, and you know, alhamdulillah, every time I come to Philadelphia, one of the things that's significant for me is that this is where I met you two beautiful brothers at while I was living in Philadelphia. You know, alhamdulillah, uh, doing this work. And so this was the place where I learned that before, like, a lot of people think that being, as they call, a Salafi, a lot of people don't know what a quote unquote Salafi is. You know, if you ask 10 different people who don't attend our classes regularly, you might get a range of different answers. You may get, you know, bad behavior. You may get short cut off pants. You may get sisters always have to wear niqab, or all black can't wear colors. You may get a whole lot of different answers. But it was in Philadelphia that I really learned that what makes a quote unquote Salafi a quote unquote Salafi, and I'm saying quote unquote because they were hobbies. That's just what they call themselves, right? Well, when I learned that what really makes them who they are is their belief system. It was the first place where I heard one of their teachers say that, for example, Allah is on his throne, and in Arabic say fidatihi, in his essence. Like, it didn't sink. Like, nobody really teaches that, right? It's just they saying that. And I heard them teaching it like that in Arabic, right? Like, subhanallah, like, wow, these cats really have a different belief. Like, this is crazy. And so I realized in Philadelphia, the Wahhabis there are more dogmatic, and they really get into that type of stuff than the Wahhabis in other cities. I also learned there that uh, that the Wahhabis there are more confrontational than the Wahhabis like here in Pittsburgh. The Wahhabis here, basically, they just have one masjid and they just stay there, and they may talk about you every now and then. But in Philadelphia, the Wahhabis, they move around. They'll go to a non-Wahhabi masjid, which is almost extinct in Philadelphia. They go to a non-Wahhabi masjid and challenge, confront, debate, argue, and all that kind of stuff there. So they're not just going to stay in their masjid. And so I'm saying all of this to say, just to give the people that never been to Philadelphia before, a picture of what Philly represents and why it's so important that we have these monthly events in Philadelphia. Why I believe a lot of you should come when we have it, even if you drive in a few hours, because it's very important. And I'm going to say it now. I know a lot of you are not going to like me for saying it, but Philadelphia is a strange place. There are masjids that were affiliated with Imam Warf D. Muhammad that have become Wahhabi masjid. I never thought I'd be able to say that. So Wahhabism is like taking over most of the masjids there. Even masjids that you would previously think that will never happen. And it's because I think it's partly because a lot of them really don't recognize what a Wahhabi is. Because you got good Wahhabi, quote unquote, and bad Wahhabi. Or you got, regular Wahhabi, you got diet Wahhabi. Right? And so because a lot of people don't know the creed, right? You can have a Wahhabi that say, man, I don't mess with those guys. All those brothers that be running through the women and, fighting each other and, and throwing each other off the menhaj and who don't recognize that they black. We're not with them. We the new diet Wahhabi. We all want to we all just want to get along. We're nice guys. Some of our leaders didn't drop out of the institution. Some of our leaders graduated, right? Right. So they're more palatable, right? They're more user friendly. They're like the back in the day, like when hip hop was first coming up. Before there was a thing such as a hip hop radio station, right? You had some rap artists that couldn't get no radio play, even if they weren't cursing. But then you had some crossover artists. Philadelphia is now being affected, and I think it's because they just get worn out. They've been dealing with the raw Wahhabis for so long. Now they got the crossover Wahhabis, the pop Wahhabis, that won't have a problem giving a lecture with a non-Wahhabi, that kind of stuff. And it's allowing them to, they just really just taking over the whole city, right? That's why I call it Wahhabidelphia. And I think this is sad because Philadelphia has such potential on every level. I think the people that live in Philadelphia don't realize it. I used to say that when I was there. I'm like, subhanAllah, like this is crazy. How can you have so many Muslims and everybody just not at the, the grassroots low, not making money level? You got politicians, people that got money, people that's bougie, and everything in between. Like whatever flavor tea you want is there in Philly, right? But potential. See, I mean, but you see it now. It's like subhanAllah, Philadelphia, alhamdulillah. And this is my opinion. Sister Haji Miriam says I got it backwards. Okay, that's your opinion. I got it front ways. Convince me otherwise. Alhamdulillah. That's all I got to say. I just really wanted to really mention why Philadelphia and coming there every month is so significant, because I believe it needs a lot of work. It has a lot of potential. And, there's some people that actually live there now that's trying to do the work. And we really need to come out and help and support them any which way possible.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. I really was thinking about the gathering we had Saturday in Philadelphia. And to me, really, Philadelphia is extremely important because I honestly believe, especially in the African American community, where Philadelphia goes, especially on the Northeast, in the Northeast, the rest of the cities will follow. And I believe they have an impact around the country because people migrate from there. So Philadelphia to me, is a strategic place to really work in educating the people. And it definitely has to be done with some skill and some thought, because a lot of work is already laid out. There's just some tweaking that needs to be done. Like, you have a bunch of practicing Muslims who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, who have sacrificed generations trying to build an Islamic culture. And to be honest, they have been very successful in general. But like the Black community on the whole, the Muslim Black community has always been subject to outside interference, which sometimes, or I say most of the times, haven't served us well. And so while it looked like we were being helped, we were really being undermined, right? And when I say that, that is extremely important to understand that. Sometimes you would get help. It looks like you're being helped, when in reality, you're being deceived, hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, all of that. And I think that's what happened in many cities around the country in the Black Muslim community, but especially in Philadelphia. So a culture has been established that just needs tweaking. That's it. And once you tweak it, now you have the potential for the African American community to be at the head in the country, as well as starting to go international. I think we should think about that, right? And not throw the baby out with the bathwater. However, we can't leave the baby in dirty bathwater, right? So while we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, we don't want to leave the baby in dirty water. And when I look at the Wahhabi movement in our communities, we just need to purify the water. If we look at it, that the water is less than qulatain and it has some najasa in it. If we just put enough water to make it qulatain or more, it becomes pure again. So let's just get the correct aqidah to the people, the correct creed, the correct practice, and now we got pure water, right? And that's how we should look at Philadelphia. But I see that process in the works. But I know for many of us, we just have to learn more. And the way to learn more is to admit, firstly, that we're missing some stuff, right? And that's fine. All of us can stand to learn something. We shouldn't be at the point where no one can teach me. I'm unteachable, right? La. We can learn, we can benefit, and we can share ideas. Because if you look at some of the movements that's happening in Philadelphia, how the Wahhabiyya were able to move to Philadelphia, through Philadelphia so easily, because people didn't know, right? And there is another element. Number one, people didn't know. So when they see a Black man, he speaks Arabic, he studied in overseas, in Saudi Arabia, Mecca, Medina, you know, that's impressive. I don't know anyway. So it doesn't matter what he's actually saying. The fact that he can say it is impressive. Look at it. I don't know. So it really doesn't matter what he's saying. The mere fact that he can say it is impressive. Right? I mean, dudes speak Arabic fluently. Like, isn't that what everyone who becomes a Muslim in our community, I want to learn some Arabic? Isn't that's what it is. So they went, they trained them, and now it's as if they don't speak English no more. You know, like every book is wasted 30 minutes. You have a 30-minute lecture, of an hour lecture, and 40 minutes is wasted on language that people don't understand. Because I'm going Arabic, I'm showing my stuff. You know, the author said, boom, 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 boom. So you're saying the same thing over and over to people who don't understand what you're talking about. That ain't wise, but okay. It's impressive, right? So this is what's happening. So they was effective in doing that. And what I want to say is we have to now just educate those people, right? If we have a serious effort in educating, and then you think of those who came and they were, how do you say, those immigrants who were Ahl Sunnah, they didn't care about black people. They just wanted to control black people. So that also gave the Wahhabiyya movement strength, that you had Sunnis, Ahl Sunnah, Asharis, Maturidis, who didn't care about black people. So they had correct creed, but they were racist. And they, instead of uplifting black people and teaching them, they subjugated them and nullified their influence in their own community and took all their resources for themselves. So this is another problem that happened in our communities. What we need now is a revival in our community of African Americans who learn some things, who can reach other African Americans and spread the knowledge. I think this is one of the biggest things I see in Philadelphia. And then just teaching. Because if you learn, like the Wahhabi doctrine is not going to stand. Anyone who's a Wahhabi, to me, hasn't studied, even if they study for 20 years, right? Either they're just totally bamboozled and indoctrinated, which is part of not studying, right? Or, right, they're shaitan. They really know what they're doing and they don't care. But if you learn and you actually learn and you study and you read the books of the scholars, no way you're going to end up a Wahhabi. It just doesn't make sense, right? Especially for black folk. That's definitely not going to fly, right? So the default position when you're dealing with them is that this person don't know no better, right? And you got to consider that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And I was looking at Sufyan. Is that his name, Sufyan? The brother from Indonesia? He put up a book, and he was talking about Al-Aqidah al-Sanusiyya, right? And he was telling how the Shehu in Africa was teaching from the Sanusiyya creed, right? Al-Barahim. And how it was spread all around the Muslim world, right? So from us, by default, if we started going back in our culture and learning about Islam, we're not going to be Wahhabi, right? Just if we're on black time, we're not going to be Wahhabi, right? Because our direction in learning the deen is not going to go through Saudi Arabia, right? And if you go anywhere in the Islamic world outside of Saudi Arabia, that where Wahhabism started, you're not going to be Wahhabi. It's not going to happen. And I think that's an important aspect that we need to look at. But I know one thing, when we're dealing with those who have been, affected by that, we got to deal with them with a lot of mercy. I know I ain't the best one to say that, right? But I realize how important it is, because you look at like the child who sees, someone cooking and they want to make some eggs, but they don't know about fire, right? The kid just want to cook eggs. You don't beat the kid, you teach them how dangerous fire is. And I think that's the same approach we have to do with most of our people who are by default subjugated to Wahhabi doctrine. And Allah knows best.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So getting back to the conference that we did, or can we call it? Was that a conference or just a monthly gathering?
Monthly gathering.
It's just a monthly gathering. One of the things that when we talking about a revival is really Ahl Sunnah showing up at these events, because that was how the Salafis or the Wahhabis were able to gain some momentum, because they were active and the people showed up, and wherever you seen the concentration of Muslims, even if you didn't really know what they were upon, you were attracted to it. I mean, because in essence, everybody wants to see people who are Muslim, to be united and be together, and we all pray and all that kind of stuff. But these issues of Aqidah really have to be, we have to be discerning with them, But this monthly gathering, one of the things that I like about it is that it's it's starting to grow. And when we're in Philly, you're getting that old school Philly love, because Philly, has two components to it. It has that old school, this why they call it the city of brotherly love, and then it has the new ones that they disconnected from that, because living right across the bridge, we know Philly very well, and I don't want any Philadelphians to feel bad because it's such a cocky city. If you talk about them, they're ready to confront you, and it's not even like that. But we also, we're a small, cocky city, so we're not really worried about that. You know what I mean? Atlantic City's like that too. And Imam, Naeem is from New York, so that's neither here nor there. But once you get past that, just like big metropolitan areas, they try you, and Philly's different. They be kind of quiet with it. I remember going to New York, and it was like, back in the day, I used to go to New York, and it was always confrontational. Like somebody's in your face, and and then I found out later a lot of it was really bluff. It was like Eddie Murphy and Raw, and this is not a slight to Imam Naeem. It was like Eddie Murphy and Raw. He said, I act like I could fight real good, but then somebody challenged me. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? But in Philly, it was different. You had some real gangster people. They didn't talk much, and they tried you just to see where you are. But once you got past that bluff too, the brotherly love that you received was like, it's unparalleled. You know what I mean? And they die hard with the love and the hate. You know what I mean? So, but when we see, I felt that feeling of brotherly love at these monthly gatherings with those old school Philly people, man, that love you, man. It's just genuine. They got the whole Philly style that you're talking with the hands, different slang, and you hear some old school slang, some new. They hip, man, and this is like, it's just love, man. It's genuine. But then at the same time, there's a feeling like, if something jump off, you're not getting out of here. And that's just the vibe. It's not, I don't think they meant anything about it, but that's just how they are. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it to the door. You know what I mean? But alhamdulillah, those brothers are really, really welcoming, and it really lights my heart, man. So every monthly gathering, I'm gonna be sure to not miss it. You know what I mean? And then having people with a zeal to learn. And as we mentioned, Philly is a confrontational town. That you got them old Philly gangsters that with Ahl Sunnah, like, listen, what's up? If you set it off, man, we coming right behind you. It's not, so it's good to have them brothers around, because they've been in the trenches. They war veterans, man, and they'll go upside somebody's head quick, so. But at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them to Islam, and we're grateful to have them as our brothers and sisters in Islam, you know, to be on the way. And, you know, for the most part, you know, most of us or all of us, we're just general, you know, we're just awam, we're just lay people, and we want to see things go smoothly. But, you know, in this climate that we're in, especially where in the region that we live in, it ain't always going to be pretty, man. It ain't always going to be pretty. You know, I mentioned at the monthly gathering, you know, one of the most disheartening things that I see is that when you get somebody that's interested in Islam, you give them shahada, you give them an explanation, and then they get with one of these Wahhabis, man, and then the next thing you know, they got on all black, they got a thobe cut, you know, right, you know, mid between the ankles and shins, and next thing you know, they won't give you salams because somebody told them that you were the Ahlul Bidah. Yeah, Camden is East Philly, but listen, we're so cocky that when you're in Camden, you know, that's West Camden. That's West Camden where we at, you know. And if you look at any picture of the Ben Franklin Bridge, it's built from our side. So we connected y'all to the world. Before that, y'all was stuck. So don't forget it. Soup City, baby, on Hood. Yeah, so, yeah, it ain't always going to be pretty, you know what I mean? And some of these things you got to take, you got to really take a hardline approach because of the damage that's been done. You know, the damage that's continuing to be done. The people who engage these Wahhabis, and, you know, they're thinking that, you know, they know a few hadiths, they learned a few names, and they romanticize a few of these books. And now they're thinking that they know something, you know, and they're being damaged. And then, you know, I can't remember a time in my 30 years of being Muslim, of people leaving Islam like I have seen in this Wahhabi movement. I can't remember, man. I can't remember a time where I seen anybody that followed traditional Islam do some of the reprehensible stuff, you know, and they supposed to be on the truth, you know. You know, there in Philadelphia, some of you know, there was a news story about a sister that just robbed a bank last week. And now it's not known if she was Muslim or not, but she had on all black, you know, she was a niqabi, you know. So I was discussing it with a brother, and they was like, well, we don't know if she was Muslim or not. We were like, okay, yeah, that's true. But don't act like that. Them people that come from that movement don't do, you know, stuff like this, you know. They don't do stuff like this and done stuff like this and done some of this crazy stuff about, you know, sisters pulling out guns on each other at the Eids, you know. Soon as they get out the Salat, they shooting at each other. I mean, Muslims, you know, attacking each other. And now, you know, these Muslims engrossed in the gang culture, and they, you know, calling out each other's masjids, you know. Yeah, come down Mukbil, boy, you know what I mean? I'm going to handle you. You know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, that kind of stuff, man. So, and it's really sad, but this is where we have to step in the midst of all this and keep teaching and being present and having enough fortitude, knowledge, you know, perseverance, and to see this stuff turn around, man, because it's going to be needed. Like Imam Amin was saying, that the area in Philadelphia is crucial. It's crucial in Philadelphia. And we get a hold on it because it's going to take us, you know, in Philly, outside of this, the Islamic community, look what's going on, man. Over 500 murders. Over 500 murders in a city that's rich in Islam like Philadelphia. And we not, you know, I don't have any stats on it, but how many of those people are Muslims doing this stuff? Because of this warped doctrine that it's okay to commit sins like this as long as you don't commit bid'ah, because your bid'ah means that you feel like you're getting closer to Allah. But if you take somebody's life, you don't believe that you're getting closer to Allah in doing that. So you're giving people who grew up in sin and grew up in crime as a way of life, you're giving them a license to do this kind of stuff and not showing them any kind of purification, because that's bid'ah. Showing people how to rectify their souls and their hearts and their minds and deal with themselves and purge themselves of all of these vices, that's bid'ah, you know. But if a person robs a bank, oh, that's okay, long as he didn't go to, you know, long as he didn't go to one of those masjids that's on the list for deviants, you know, that's better than going to one of our masjids. That's what they tell them. You know, and that's crazy. And all in these cities, you know, and they got a secret list you know, or who don't take to those salams. They even say in their khutbahs, don't beautify, don't make your rose, you're a Salafi, you're a rose. Don't place yourself amongst the weeds of Ahlul Bidah. That's what they say, you know, and tell people this in on their talks. On Friday, you're supposed to be getting, you know, an admonishment to help you get through the week. They're telling you, they're calling off names and stuff like this. And it's ridiculous, man, you know. So that's why, you know, when we make these calls and doing these things, we really need to show a united front to offset some of this stuff because, you know, unfortunately, you know, people are still going to be, you know, excited by that kind of, you know, some people that the default Wahhabi works for them. It's simple, you know, it's not complicated. You just learn one Tawheed, two Tawheed, three Tawheed, you know, and ABC, you know, I just follow whatever they say because they talk in Arabic and they got to know what they're talking about because they went overseas, you know, and that's why you look at the history of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he got the Bedouins to follow him, you know, and these days we call them, you know, call them G building niggas, man. It's G building niggas following these people, man. People that should be taking medicine, that need some help. You know, these are the people they got following them in a weird way that with, you know, is with a diehard vigor, man, you know, and these people are, you know, that something is wrong with them, man, but this stuff works for them, you know, and may Allah help us, man. But, you know, we need to continue these platforms. We need to continue these teaching things that we're doing and these monthly gatherings for those who are in the region and can make it. Please, you know, be sure to come. He said, brother say he's interested in moving to Philly. No, don't do it. I don't do it, brother. Don't do it.
Stay in DC and do your work in DC. Come
Yeah.
to Philadelphia. Honestly, you in DC, the same work that needs to be done in Philadelphia needs to be done in DC. Right? And it's easier to do that work in DC than it would be in Philly. So if you really, really want to help in terms of Ahl Sunnah, stay in DC and do da'wah. And there is a community Rashidun Center with Imam Ali, who is Ahl Sunnah and who is working in the black community, right in the hood. Go help him. He needs help, you know, and it would be a good thing. Philly has enough people. They just have to come together. Philadelphia has more than enough people to do the job. And one of the sisters, she said something real strong. I mean, I wouldn't use those terms, but it is, she said a very strong point. And then she said she ready to fight. Yeah, I said it. Right. She said Ahl Sunnah in Philly would be stronger if Ahl Sunnah weren't scared. I don't think it's an issue of scared. I don't think nobody is scared. We black. Black people know how to be violent. That ain't what's needed. What's needed is to realize that we have a responsibility among ourselves in the black community. I think that's the issue. We're looking for someone else to do our work, right? So I think that's something, I think that's the issue. Then the other thing, I'll give you, you want the issue, Sister Sophia? I'm going to share this with you. This is my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. We got two problems among Ahl Sunnah in Philadelphia. I'm talking about Ahl Sunnah. One, they're outnumbered, and a few of them are not educated enough to deal with the onslaught of the Wahhabi doctrine. They're not educated enough. So you have people that are Ahl Sunnah that are imams, but are really not that knowledgeable. I mean, that doesn't make them bad people. That's just reality. So they can't deal with those Wahhabis who are represented in Philadelphia who are far more educated than them, right? So that's one problem. So you got one side, the Ahl Sunnah, they're not afraid. That's not it. I don't believe that. It's just I don't have the knowledge to confront them, and I don't want to get embarrassed, right? That's one aspect, right? So we'll make a million excuses to get away from that, which will make it seem like the person's scared, but he's not really scared. It's just I'm not educated enough. I can't deal with it. So if I have to go up against one of them guys, he's going to eat me for breakfast. And then all my stuff that I've been talking going to come down, and that's it, because I'm not really cut like that. That's one problem. The second problem, that's one that I see, and I know that to be sure that's a problem. The other problem is there are people who are educated enough, but they're being controlled by foreigners who won't allow them to teach, won't allow them to do the work. They got the knowledge, they have the skill set, but they're subjugated by foreigners. So the foreigners are telling them what to do, what they can and cannot do. And that's why they're not doing the job. Not that they're not qualified, not that they don't have the education. They speak Arabic, they got everything you need, but they don't have freedom. And the slave can't talk without the permission of the master. And the master don't want the slave talking because the master want to control the narrative. These are two problems I see, as I see it. And I'm talking about knowing the people. Those are the two problems I see. And if they overcome those two problems, the first problem, drop your ego and go learn. And you have brothers that could teach you. Drop your ego, go learn. That would be my advice to the first class. The one who's not scared, they're just not educated. Drop your ego and go learn. Still be a leader, but go learn. Sit down with somebody and let them teach you, right? That's one part. The second one, tell a slave master to get out your life. You got to free yourself. That's the second problem. Stop being slaves to immigrants. They taught you to make you a free man, not a slave. They should have taught you to make you free, not taught you to enslave you. And you can call it organization, you can call it whatever you want. Slavery, right? That's the problem. If we can fix those two problems, Philadelphia community can handle it themselves. They won't need no one from outside of Philadelphia. They could do it themselves. And the other thing, work together on common interests and stop letting people divide you on secondary issues, right? So if we just worked on a common issue that we share and related to the Wahhabi doctrine, which is the creed, we could get a lot done. But instead, you got some people that would undermine that, put other issues forward so that we don't come together, and that's a black issue. That has nothing to do, and it's used as Islam, but it has nothing to do with Islam. It's actually to control the blacks, to make sure the blacks never unify, never unite together. Because if we took them out, we wouldn't fight. If we took their control out, we would work together. And I know that for sure. Because I know many people who are controlled by those foreigners in the community, if they was free, they would work with us. But because the foreigners don't allow them, they don't work with us. This is, I know for a fact. So Sophia, I just say I don't think no one is scared. I don't think that's the issue. Because they ain't scared to mess with us, right? They ain't scared to talk junk about us. And those two imams that are on the side of me and under me, they ain't no chumps, you know. So they're right. So, but they ain't scared to do that. So it ain't scared. I don't think it's that. I give them more credit than that.
Don't let the light skin fool you. I'm telling you.
Well, I guess it's my turn again.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, as an outsider who used to live in Philadelphia for approximately 6 years, one of the things that I saw, like you said, those two things, I would add like a third to it, but it may really apply to like the older generation of leadership. I think a lot of them were more, there's a couple of things combined. Like, I don't think a lot of them really understood what a Wahhabi was or is. And I think a lot of them still don't, which still presents a problem in that city. Also, I think that because they don't understand that even though they have many other issues, the most important and the most dangerous of which is the creed, I think they don't understand that. They just think, all these other negative things that we've mentioned, they see those things. So I think the older generation of leadership don't necessarily see that there, or maybe I don't know about now, but when I was living there, nah, they don't see it. And I think that a lot of those who were in leadership at the time, they let politics and other issues prevent them or sidetrack them from dealing with the problem. Because a lot of people in Philly like to forget that a masjid was taken over in a hostile fashion, the Germantown masjid. Now the people who run it now, the Wahhabis, they try to pretend like it never happened and all that, but it was extremely hostile. And it almost led to bloodshed, literally. I mean, it was one spark away from bloodshed, literally. And the Imam at the time, Imam Yusuf, he gave up the masjid. And he said he gave it up because he had a dream. He had a nightmare. And in a nightmare, there was blood all on the musalla. And so he gave it up, without resisting anymore. But even if you look at what our brother Yahya mentioned way earlier, he said, even with them, he invited them in. It ain't like they just came and said, hey, give up the keys. No, he invited them in teaching classes, And so I think a lot of the leadership in Philadelphia is kind of like they're like that the same way. It starts off good, we all Muslim, everything. But when you get deep into it with them, you realize it's something else. And so uh I just wanted to mention that. And I'm not going to talk too long
Hey,
because I
well,
feel
hold up,
like
Imam.
Imam.
Can I ask you something?
Uh-huh.
And this is where I think Ahl Sunnah in Philadelphia are falling short. And I hate to, because we want good, we got to be careful how we word things, right? Right? Because some of us are not mature enough to just deal with reality. We get offended, we take our ball and run across the street. So you got to be careful how you say certain things, right? But what I noticed when you were in Philadelphia, and I used to come to Philadelphia with y'all and support y'all and everything y'all was doing, that same thing happened for y'all as Sunnis. That the older imams in the communities, they were lacking in teaching, and they's like, come in and teach. And many of the Ahl Sunnah have that same opportunity. They dropped the ball, and the
I agree.
Wahhabis picked it up. Right? Simple. Like, it wasn't like that was just given to the Wahhabiyya. Nah, it was given equally to anyone who wanted to come and teach. But what happened is the Sunnis, Ahl Sunnah, dropped the ball. And we got to own that. We have to own that. Whatever the reason why we dropped the ball, we have to own that. Because that wasn't exclusively given to just Wahhabi people. Those imams wanted to learn. They wanted their communities to learn. And the Sunnis dropped the ball. We got to own our stuff.
I agree 100%. I definitely 100% I agree. And I always said, even before experience in Philadelphia, I always said that Wahhabis always only exist in a void. Like they can't, they fill a void. When Ahl Sunnah is there and is present and doing what it's supposed to do, there's no air for them. They can't breathe. But as soon as we get lazy or we want to idolized personalities and we don't want to do the work, we don't want to do the teaching, they come right in and fill a void. So, I agree with you 100%. And I just wanted to make one last comment because you were talking a lot about bank robberies, whatever. I remember when during the time I lived in Philadelphia. I don't remember which year, but it was sometime between 2006 and 2012. That's when the three brothers robbed that bank, and I think it was a PNC bank that was in a Pathmark somewhere in North Philly, somewhere north, right? And one of the brothers, they got into a shootout with the police and shot and killed the police. Police shot back and killed one of them. I remember that very clear. And this is the deep thing. This is the deep thing that what I found amazing, which was different than a lot of other cities. These brothers had dressed it up with overgarments and niqabs, right? Big diesel brothers with overgarments and niqabs on. Everybody was talking about it. It wasn't just the Muslim community. You listen to the radio station, the talk shows at night, people was calling in. There's another thing that discussing the issue, the brothers robbed the bank, and people calling to the radio station, Assalamu alaikum. The host ain't even Muslim. Wa alaikum salam. What's your comment or question? Blah, 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 blah. I remember all of that. And the thing that was, sad and outrageous wasn't only the bank robbery, the death of the police officer, the death of the Muslim brother, but after that, the Wahhabis said, we ain't burying them. And they were like, justifying it. They used the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam out of context. They justify not burying the brother. So I remember that like it was very clear. And it was Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah who had to bury. I thought it was crazy. So I was like, subhanAllah. All these brothers was Wahhabi. They went to the Wahhabi Masjid. If the brother was alive, he probably wouldn't even return the greetings to me, right? But our community ended up burying him, right? Because, the Wahhabis didn't want that political smoke, right? And all the non-Muslims like, what's wrong with these Muslims? These people's crazy. Like, okay, we understand they were Muslim and you don't condone the crime, but even the mob, the mafia, they bury people they bury their own that get caught up in crime and stuff like that. And so I just want to, I'm just connecting that because you mentioned it in passing, Imam Faheem. I'm just connecting that to show you how Philadelphia is different. A lot of y'all that's from other cities, y'all can't imagine none of this stuff happening in your city. This is Philadelphia.
Hey, you know what? That guy, the one that killed the cop and they killed him, he was in their inner circle.
SubhanAllah.
He was one of their inner circles, and when they got hot, man, they disowned him. He was at the Wahhabi Masjid in Camden for Juma that Friday before. And then that happened on a Saturday or early Sunday morning, whenever it was. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But can I say something? Because we need to be careful, right? Because none of those Wahhabi teachers would accept that stuff. None of them. And definitely not publicly. So the ultimate thing is not so much the bad behavior. It's the bad creed. And we can't undermine that. Because you got many of those Wahhabi people, if they weren't having a bad creed, they would be great leaders, right? So dudes that don't do crime, those that don't cheat on their wives and don't abuse women, they good practicing, outwardly good practicing Muslims. However, they have bad creed. They have an invalid creed. And I think this is the point that many people get lost in because we're just looking at the outward. I'm talking about even people. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of people that may listen to us may be under the impression sometimes that we just like talking about each other. And that is not the intent, right? But sometimes people will misunderstand, or they just say this and they say this and they point out there, but our really issue and there's minor issues, but the major issue that makes us say Wahhabiyya is the invalid creed. Like, for instance, ascribing to Allah a place, ascribing to Allah modality or a how, or ascribing to Allah literal attributes. These are the serious issues that we must address, right? And the other things, inshallah, will work out in just practicing and being around pious people. Because as Black people, we have some things in our inner city culture that we just got to work on. No matter who they are, they have them. Because I know among the Sunnis, Ahl Sunnah, there's some ugly stuff going on, right? That ain't right. Molesting women, children, all that stuff, you know, what they call that? Serial marriages, all that crap goes on among everybody, right? Unfortunately. So those things, they're cultural problems. I don't think it has nothing to do with religion. Maybe we may use religion to cover these illnesses that are heart diseases, but I think we shouldn't forget that the real issue is the issue of the creed. And don't let nobody minimize that. Like, all right, well, let's put that to the side. If we put that to the side, then we're all the same to me, right? We all struggling with the same stuff. The same problem the Wahhabiyya got outside of the creed is the same problem Sunnis have, right? If we be fair and honest and just, you know, al-insaf is very important. But the issue of the creed is an issue that we can't forget. And I think we need to spend more time on correcting that and the religious issues that relates to conviction, that really is the dividing line. Sin, hey man, sin is among all of us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe it ain't in the same degree. Maybe sometimes it don't look like it got a license to it. But I've met some Wahhabi people in Philadelphia that are good people. They just Wahhabi, good dudes. Take care of their family, do what they need to do, right? I mean, subhanAllah, I've met some Wahhabi people in Philly and other, but I'm saying specifically in Philly, if they were Sunni, I would let them be the Imam of the Masjid. I would sit down and you do it. I've met some Wahhabis like that. That I got some Wahhabis in my area, good dudes. They just Wahhabi. Had they not been Wahhabi, I would step down and let them be the Imam. Right? Good brothers, family, married, hard workers, young, educated, speak Arabic. But they were Wahhabi. That's the issue. Nothing else. I have nothing to say about their personality, nothing to say about their character. Good brothers. And I know in my city, we got a couple of them that if they weren't Wahhabi, I would step down and let them be the Imam. I believe they deserve it, but they're Wahhabi. I can't, right? But I'm talking about other than that, and I've tried to work with them, but, you know, they just flee from me, right? But if we sat down and they were just open, man, they would be the leaders. But I can't allow someone with a false creed to lead people, right? And they are good brothers. Shafi'i and Fiqh with a little bit of my Wahhabi mistakes because the way they teach, but they got one step, Shafi'i. But, you know, this comparative fiqh stuff they teach in the University of Medina messes up the madhab. But they good dudes. I have nothing bad to say about them. And I have a good relationship with them, except the creed, right? Except the creed. If it wasn't for the creed, yo, come on, young bucks, y'all lead. I'm going to sit down and help y'all. Let me help get the money and build. And there are a lot of Wahhabis like that. And I've met them across the country. Young, but when we get away from the Saudi influence or some of us, when we just black brothers talking, like skip all that nonsense. Me and you, black man, let's kick it. These are some good dudes. Good dudes. right? So I think the issue is we got to get to the creed, because if we fix that, we got a whole new army, right? And I think we need to talk about that a whole lot, because once we fix that, we got a whole new squad. I think about it. Let me give you one person, and I won't mention his name, but he's from Philadelphia. He was Wahhabi. He graduated from the University of Medina, and he became Ahl Sunnah, right? He's not like us, but he grew up in that, right? He don't have this type of nature, but he's Ahl Sunnah. And he taught a lot of brothers that are friends of ours, right? That have learned, that are Ahl Sunnah, right? He might not be like us, doing what we do, but he's Ahl Sunnah and he's teaching people, right? And they're learning and they're not Wahhabi. And many Sunni people came from him, but he was Wahhabi first, right? But when he changed, boom, he took off, right? Tasawwuf, correct Aqidah. So that same thing can happen to many of them. Because sometimes they're listening, right? They do listen to us. And if they feel as though, and I know Imam Faheem, you know me, I get that all the time. They want to work with us, but we don't leave no room sometimes. I know I'm good at that, right? Being too unfair in a way. So we have to, let's just fix the creed. That's it, right? And I know big Salafi people, Wahhabi people, that are friends with me, except because we have different creed. But other than that, we'll kick it, we'll hang out, we'll visit each other, but it's just the creed issue. And I think that's something that we got to work on ourselves. First, we got to do the black thing so we get past some other cultural stuff. Just we black. Yo, man, come on, knock it off. Like, I'm from the inner city, you from the inner city. Let's kick it. And I think eventually we can work on that. Did that make any sense, Imam Naeem Genius?
Yes, indeed.
So do we have any questions, comments? And the mic is open if y'all want to join in. Where are we at with the we have work to do too. We have to fundraise while we're doing this as well, because if we're going to go teach the creed, that costs money to travel around. So we need these donations. Where are we at? Allah.
Okay, one brother asked about the I don't know we answered. He asked about Masjid Uthman Danfodio. Yeah, we know those brothers, man. They're good brothers, mashallah. They've been on this platform and we work with each other behind the scenes, so yeah, they're good brothers, man. Allah preserve them. A couple of them are doing Amir Khalil and Abu Muhammad al-Maliki. They have a podcast that they're doing, Brother Hussein. I can't forget the name. I forget the name of it. But I think it's called the Solutions Podcast. I'm not sure what the schedule is, but you could check them out there, inshallah. And they're doing their work too. May Allah raise their rank. Yeah, where we at on the I only have one thing, Imam, just my experience of being in the movement, that the creed is very important, but their methodology that extends from that bad creed, and I'm not saying everybody, but just sometimes the boldness that's been associated with them. I mean, not now, but back then, the boldness that was associated with some of the stuff that they were doing and declaring everybody, mushriks and grave worshipers and, people who are deviants, and then people who within their movement that didn't agree with them, they threw them off as well, So, and that just kind of, and this whole concept about, sin is better than, bid'ah, so like I was saying earlier, giving, you know, people are licensed who are already, you know, just problematic with themselves. You're giving them a license to do this kind of stuff. That's all. Oh, you mean to tell me, oh, I could just ask for forgiveness for this, but if I go pray down, you know, at the Quba Institute, you know, me robbing the bank is easier than that.
But
And that's the
here's
kind
the
of,
catch,
yeah.
Imam. That's true what you're saying. But if we go back to the root cause of all of that, right? It's true, no doubt. A brother told me the other day, he said, man, I used to hate your guts. He said, and that's just because you speak up too much, right? And you were like, you know, you wasn't beating around the bush and they weren't challenging you. And I wanted to, you know, I said, listen, man, but you know me, you could always talk to me. I'm firm in my creed, but I'm not unreasonable. I'll talk to somebody, right? Because I believe that. I believe, like, I was an Ansar. So I think the Salafis are closer to the correct understanding than Ansars were, right? So, I mean, of course, no doubt. I mean, we share some crazy beliefs, but nevertheless, I think they're closer to Ahl Sunnah than the Ansars were. And I went from Ansar to Ahl Sunnah, right? So it could happen. Imam al-Ash'ari himself was Mu'tazili for 40 years before he became Ahl Sunnah, and he became the Imam of Ahl Sunnah. So that can happen, right? So when you look at those ideas, like you bid, don't, that stuff is all imported information coming from Saudi Arabia. Like, it ain't no black guy started that stuff. He learned that stuff in Saudi Arabia, putting people off the minhaj. And if you study their methodology, they all remember they was the Telelink people, right? So they're getting all that, put him off the minhaj, do this. That comes from overseas. That's not black folks starting that stuff. That's some Negroes who got some Saudi or some Arab putting a battery pack in their back and giving them walking instructions. That don't have nothing to do with black folks. The same in Ahl Sunnah. You got Sunnis who hate our guts because some Arabs is telling them what to do. This real. But if we was ourselves to talk without their interference, we wouldn't be like that. Right? But because some Arab is telling them this may be kufr or this one that, or they pray in the wrong, or anything to make us not work together. And you got some Negroes who follow that. But take that Arab out of his ear, he won't be the same person. Like, take the Arab out of his ear. It's just you, me and you, one-on-one. Let's kick it. You won't find the same energy. But, right? And I know it for sure. If you put them dudes one-on-one, like just me and you gonna kick it. Because I've talked to them. I know for sure how it is. We don't got no foreigners telling us nothing. It's just me and you. That's it. No going back to the slave master, getting his approval. We ain't need him for nothing. You know Arabic. You have enough information. I have enough information. Me and you gonna work this out. We would never have a problem. And any problem we have, we would work out. But when we got that foreign influence over top of us, and some Negroes is trying to tap dance for the master, boss, I'm a good Negro. Now give me some more knowledge. No, seriously, this is our problem. And that's the Salafi problem, the Wahhabi problem, and that's a Sunni problem as well. That's some Negro stuff that we got to get over, right? And I just, like, because if we're serious about building, we got to be honest with each other, man. Seriously. I got Salafi dudes that I can relate to and discuss Wahhabi dudes more than some Sunnis. Now that's that, and we got the same creed, but they got some other agenda. It has nothing to do with the creed. They're not arguing with my creed. Now they want me to follow their sheikh. or follow their masters. It has nothing to do with my creed. And then the Arab will tell them, you heard what he just said? This is kufr. He slipped on the tongue. He should have said fetha instead of a kasra. Or he didn't pronounce his letters correctly. And the Negro will follow him in that. He said everything he said, everything you're saying, he's saying the same thing. But, you know, his way he pronounced the word was wrong. He shouldn't pronounce it. He's not qualified. Okay, so we knocked the black guy doing something, we knock him down, and we left with nothing. And you're not going to do nothing either, but continue to take out our communities. This is real stuff. So I want us to be like, to think about all what we're confronting, you know what I mean? And that does not to dismiss these issues, but really, man, we got to focus in on where our strengths are as a people, where we need to work, where our real differences are, and who are our real enemies. And who are our real enemies? You know, they say every smiling face ain't friendly. You know, Assalamu alaikum, Habibi. MashaAllah, Habibi. Yeah, all right, Habibi. Right. Nah, seriously. Let me tell you something. I know black Sunnis who wanted to come talk to us, but the master told them no. I know black Sunnis who wanted to come on the platform, and I said, we could come on and we could kick it. Like, whatever beef you got, let's kick it. Master told them no. Absolutely not. You're not allowed. And guess what? There happens the same thing with others who would come talk to us and have a real conversation. But somebody tell them, no, they are people of Bid'ah, don't talk to them. What do you mean I'm black? I grew up in the hood just like you. Negro, I did time just like you. I got dudes that I did time in the jail with. We was watching each other inside the prison, and now these Negroes don't want to talk to you. Like, come on, me and you was in the joint together, breaking bed, oodles and noodles, making twists, and now some dude told you I'm a deviant. You used to pray with me every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, But when we alone, man, you know I love you, Why you don't come to the masjid? Man, I can't. Man, they'll put me on the list. I hang out with you. Right? I got dudes that we were in the streets running together, doing Negro stuff. And now they won't even come to the masjid. Joke, I haven't saved your life several times. What are you talking about? I mean, but that's all from somebody else. But if we alone, just us, you don't have that kind of conversation. And that's the things we got to work on. And Allah knows best. I'm just really, because we're talking to people also that they're listening, but we don't know they're listening. So we got to reach them as well.
Imam Amin.
Yes, sir.
What are your reflections specifically about last Saturday? Because I know you mentioned before you had a lot of things that, you know.
Oh, man, that needs a whole nother session.
I'm sorry, man. I derailed the conversation.
No, here's one thing that I tell you, I give you 3 things. Number 1, what we can do when we all work together. The brothers and the sisters from the Hanifiya Haven Inc. are some incredible people. Abdurrahman as their Amir, they listen, they follow, they cooperate, and they put on a beautiful gathering, and it grows every time, every month. It grows, more people, different people, and it's excellent every time. That quality we need to spread, like across the country. if we could cooperate, since the day we met those brothers and sisters, they've been the loyal, down, support, and that just shows you Philadelphia. From the day we met them, they've been like solid. And I'm talking about on a regular basis, daily studying, every day they're studying, they're coming, visit, traveling. You saw them, they went all the way out to New Mexico. Where else? Wherever we, like, they down.
Wichita.
Cornfields.
Like, rolling. Right? They roll. That's Philly. Solid. So, like, these people are from Philadelphia. That shows you what kind of people you got. When they on it, they down. So that's one thing, right? They use their own resources, right? They make sure it's laid out. They're protective to make sure nothing happened. Like, security, airtight. Like, they do good work, right? You know, you got to give it to them. May Allah reward them. That's one thing. But we need that example around the country for Ahl Sunnah, because that's an example of working together. Sometimes, even when we got to discuss how the things go, everybody's in line. Even if I have a different opinion, if that's what we decide, and that's what the Amir said, that's what we're going to do. That is so crucial because, you know, one of the things that derail our missions is this cowboy stuff. If you don't say what I like, I'm going to do my own thing. Look, they don't do that. They stick together. And I tell them all the time, like, this is a beautiful quality, right? And even the elders, you saw like Imam Yahya, like elders, they dare down support and sticking together. That's some beautiful stuff, right? So that's one. To me, that's like, put that at the top of the list. The second thing, generational Islam. You got from 70 down to babies in those sessions. Pay attention to that. That shows you Philadelphia's richness. We had people at this session on walkers and canes. And when they was telling me some other things, their own personal stuff was a little bit more information than I needed, but that shows you how serious they are, right? Like, you got people 70, 60, 70, and they still coming to sit in the 5 hours of learning on walkers and going up and down steps. And then you're talking about every level of generation, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, teenagers, babies. That's Philadelphia. So say whatever you want. You're talking about generations of people who love Allah and his messenger. That's Philly. And I don't think too many places around the country is at that level. And we see, you look at the gathering and just go back in your mind and stroll the crowd. Look at all these little babies. And from carriages to walkers and canes and everything in the middle. That's Philly. So that's just a reflective of a whole city, right? That's some beautiful stuff. And if we're thinking strategically, you need that kind of generational cooperation to build anything in the Black community. Like you had one of the elders, they were married for 54 years. Think about that. 54 years. 7 children and 30-something grandchildren and some more great-grandchildren. You don't think we need that? 54 years of marriage? SubhanAllah. We need, and look at the divorce rates we're seeing today. We need those pictures that exist in Philly, not just with that person. There's a lot of people like that. They just, and listen, think about at that age, they were sitting in there taking notes.
Both husband and wife.
Husband and wife. That stuff is like rich. So that's number 2. And the last one is they're discovering things that was never told to them about the religion. With all that I said, there's so much of the religion that's been hidden from them, right? So education and teaching, that's what I was saying. We got to get to teaching. We got to teach. We got to teach. It can't just be lectures. We got to actually teach books. We got to actually, right? Because they still need to learn. So they got all this beautiful culture, but there's a lot of aspects of Islamic knowledge that never was given to them, even by Ahl Sunnah. And remember, I said it in the thing. I said, we got people who been studying Ahl Sunnah for 30 years and still don't know behind the basic stuff of knowledge and don't even got the Fard Ain well. But they've been learning for 30 years. And you should have saw, if you look, heads were shaking. So these were Sunnis, Ahl Sunnah. We Ahl Sunnah, we are against the Wahhabis. But for 30 years, you don't even know Fard Ain when Imam Faheem mentioned it. So we still got to teach that, right? Like, our people need to be retaught, even though the foreigners taught them, but they didn't teach them with love. So that's why they don't know, right? There was no love, so there was a disconnect. So the same thing that those foreigners gave them, we got to give them again with love, with some kind of reality where you're involved. You're more than the security guard. Someone really care about you. You're more than just clean up. You can actually be a leader. You can see yourself and your children in the development, not just you're here to serve others. And since you're serving, we'll give you a little bit of knowledge. This is what happened to our people. So these are the things, those 3 things are the main things. And that's a whole long discussion. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of pain with that. There's a lot of anger once you learn how you've been tricked. All that stuff come with it, you know. We got a lot of work to do, right? And then we still got a lot of house Negroes, right? Listen, that ain't changed. Islamic house Negroes. Put that up, Imam Naeem. Could you type that in the box? Islamic house Negroes. This is a major problem in our community. And we have to address that. That's not something that should remain cool. We should say just no to Islamic house Negroes. They are an enemy to our community. And we act like that don't exist. That's real. Because what is the Islamic house Negro? Just like the house Negro in a plantation, right? I'm not in the field, boss. The boss treat me good, right? Treat the rest of the Negroes like crap. But he got you good. I dress like boss. I get to sit at boss's table. I get to translate for boss. And even boss might let me get close to one of his women. And it's just you Negroes messing everything up. And you got this in Islam. And you don't think those Arabs see that stuff? They do. They see you a nigga. And that's how they feel about you. And you know it. And you still do it. No, this is a real problem. Because if we continue to allow these things to exist without speaking up, it's going to be generational, right? And I've seen it with my own eyes, where in Philadelphia, a black city, the city of brotherly love, foreigners taking over the community, the inner city, making the decisions. No real leadership. When we used to have, and Imam Asim was here to tell you, in Philadelphia, in Islam, black people were powerful and influential. That's slowly fading away. And it's blacks undermining other blacks for others. It's blacks undermining other blacks. This is some serious stuff. And so it's a lot of issues that we gotta, we gotta deal with. And I'm telling you, that's one of the first things after the creed with the Wahhabis, but even among us, we gotta address this Islamic house Negro syndrome. We gotta address that stuff, right? We can't let nobody feel comfortable acting other than a black man, right? Right? Nah, you can't feel comfortable around that. I need you to be yourself. All that trying to be somebody other than you are, look, you can't do that around me. And guess what? And all of us know it, that has been a culture among us. I got to talk like an Arab. I got to talk like a Pakistani. Like, I just left everything that relates to my culture, which will mean you'll never reach your people. Because you can't go in the hood talking about Yatni. That ain't going to work. You can't go in the hood talking about Yatni. Yatni, Yatni. Come on, bro. Mashallah. This nigga got a gun in a package. He ain't listening to you. And he got a pocket full of money, and you tap dancing. He ain't listening to you. Forget about it. I'm not going from where I'm at to that. No. So these are real stuff. And it's been told that we got to be like that to be authentic Muslims. They've put that in our minds that I got to be other than me to be a good Muslim. And we have to stop that culture if we're ever going to build. That cannot be our culture. So those are my 3 points. And you see, they got a long, I could go on and on with this stuff with a lot of details. That's what I got. The main things that I saw in that gathering.
Alhamdulillah. And tonight, our enemies seem to be our donors, man.
What happened?
Where we at?
Did
we hit our target?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think we was at like 345 the last time I seen it.
All right, we got ready to close out anyway, so let us try to go ahead. What's your 3 points, Samira? I'm interested. Imam Naim, can I put Samira up without a fight? I don't want no trouble.
Yeah, you could put I'm the only one that's gonna get beat up.
Oh, okay. I don't want no trouble.
That's my minister of interior.
That's how I be feeling when Farouk keep calling my wife. I'll be like, yo, what's up with you, man? Oh, bro, I got the jokes, but wait a minute, why my wife always gotta be the center of your jokes? I'm just joking, Farouk. I know you got your coach. I'm just messing with you, bro. Gotta have some fun.
Her 3 points. Oh, she hurry up and type them in.
She's trying to spell super wrong.
She could just click the link and come on.
Yeah.
See, Miss Joanne got it. Miss Joanne, I love your son. I'm telling you, I just like to have fun with him. I wish he would come on more often, but I don't know why he's ducking wreck. He's one of those, he remind me of Buster Douglas. He got a lucky punch and knocked Mike Tyson out, and we ain't seen him since. Right? That's Farouk Buster Douglas Thomas. Yeah, I knocked Imam Amin out. Right? No rematch, no nothing.
Maybe because he don't have his suit ready when we be on. You know, he got to have the suit on.
All right, we got $30 to go. Inshallah. Let's get this done because we can't afford not to reach our objectives, right? And we have some big plans that we plan on doing, which is going to cost money. Among them is that we talked about it. Imam Faheem, sorry, I don't know if you got this conversation. That what we thought about, because sometimes, because there are so many masajid, unfortunately, that the Wahhabis run, we may need to go and rent hotel spaces in different cities. Like get the, the conference room in a hotel.
Yeah,
and have everything at a hotel.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cities around the country, but that's going to cost money, right? But I think we need to do that because sometimes just people are not going to let us come because we're not Wahhabi. So they're not going to open the door for us to talk to people. So we may need to just go to certain cities because we have enough people around the country where we could just rent a hotel, rent a space or a community center or, network and get it done. So that's one of the things we intend on doing very soon.
You on that Black Imams Roundtable. You can't come here.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, who gonna drop this? Who gonna drop this food? This $30 is the food, man.
Come on, Farouk, man, make this thing happen. May Allah reward Imam Yahya, who opened up the door of Masjid Hashar and made a welcome for us to do what we have to do.
Allahu Akbar.
So when Farouk, Barakallahu bikum, Farouk, inshallah, when we get the report that the 40 is reached, we'll make dua and close it out. But we got to get an official, update. Do we have any questions from anyone that y'all have for us? I know y'all enjoy us and spend your time with us. Are we just entertaining y'all or y'all learning too?
Oh yeah, Farouk, I heard you calling me out for the verses, man. Listen, you think I'm an easy target. I might mess around and knock you off the grill, my man.
Yeah, Abdullah, we're gonna make it back out to Kansas. We gotta plan better when we come out west because it's very expensive coming out west. Hey, did y'all see Abdul Wali's video? Abdul Wali, you should post your video. Put your link of your video. I thought that was very nice what you did. I think it was a great job.
Oh yeah,
you should put your video in there, Wali. Abdul Wali, put your video so people can see what you did. I think that took some thinking on your part, or maybe I just don't realize what you did, but it looked like a lot of thinking.
Yeah, he ready to come on for as a guest too, man. We discussed it behind the scenes.
Okay. So I think
Abdul Wali,
people can support you.
I put you on the spot, fool.
No, that was a good video. I liked it. I really, it's thinking outside the box. We need to think outside the box. May Allah make you successful. Abdul Wali think I don't like him much. I'm just hard on him. He been rolling with me from New York days.
someone's saying that you need to check the YouTube comments.
What YouTube comments? I see them. I don't see anything that was a question or anything.
Yeah, it was nothing on there.
We see the YouTube comments, but I don't see no questions or nothing. But I see them. We can see all of them.
Yeah, the YouTube comment says, please support the Roundtable at mmacinc.org/donate. And the Cash App, Zelle. Yeah, it's a few comments like that.
Are you joking or you see them?
No, I didn't know real comments, but that's the one that should be highlighted.
And we at 645. That's almost at 1,000.
Yeah, that's like,
That's really,
well, that's black folks. No, we're that close. Come on, y'all can go ahead and make it a G, man. We're trying to do something.
I mean, if everybody do a little, one person don't got to do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check out Abdul Wali's video. I think it was very good. I mean, I liked it. You know what I mean? So maybe you will like it. And you never know who could benefit from it. I think Abdul Wali, he has some stuff in his mind. It might not be for everybody, but it might be for somebody. So, you know what I mean? Who it worked for, let it work. Do your thing, fool.
Do your thing, fool, on gang, cuh.
And let's make dua for Wali. He's sick. Abdul Wali, man. May Allah give him shifa and afiyah, inshallah.
Amin, Amin, Amin.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Where we at, Imam? You want to close us out with final thoughts? Are we done?
I was about to say, Samira said she had 3 points. She ain't typed them in yet.
It's Selena, your New York crew, and sister Sabra, and I think that's Fahima. I'm sorry I missed y'all, but I was sick. I couldn't get out the bed. So may Allah reward y'all for your journey. I hope Sheikh Abdul Aziz was a benefit for you. And inshallah, I'll see y'all the next time y'all come down.
Okay, we do have this one comment. It's a late entry on YouTube. You see it? It says, Salam, can we somehow try to reconcile how this issue is just a matter of creed with the Wahhabis? Because I'm sure I know that.
I don't understand the question.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Could you clarify, Andre the Outcast?
Oh, Samira was just kidding.
Can we somehow try to reconcile how this issue is just a matter of, creed, hold on one second. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not really understanding the question either.
I don't know. Maybe the word just is throwing me off. I don't know. Inshallah, he'll rephrase it, inshallah.
Yeah, so are you saying that is it just a matter of creed, or is other things, or you know that it's creed, or you don't think it's creed? I'm not really sure.
Because I know for us three here, at least in all of those who attend our classes, I think we all are clear that the issue with them is the creed. The bold, all caps, underline is the creed. Every other issue they have is just a secondary issue. Even though we've given some outrageous examples of those other issues that seem to be, systemic among them, but we're all clear that the issue with them is the creed.
Let me put the link, Outcast. I have a sense. If you want, you can actually come on and ask your question if you want to, so it's clear. I think you have something you concern. If you want, so if you can't type it, you can come on. I'll let you in, and you can ask your question. So I put the link there, right? But something tells me that you have something you really want to get at. So you're welcome If you can't type it, you're welcome to just click that link, and it'll bring you right in, and you can ask, or you can speak whatever you wanted to speak.
While we wait for him, I think Hussein gave us another topic in his question. So, where did the breakdown of marriage come from among us as Black Muslims? A whole platform discussion in itself. Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
It came from you talking, undermining Black women, my man.
Like, oh, that's a low blow.
Yeah, that was a low blow. That was meant to be a low blow.
But I think what Farouk is saying is the real reality of that. The breakdown of Muslim marriages is just a micro observance of a larger phenomenon within the African American community. I agree. I have this saying: whatever affects Black people affects Black Muslims. Same stuff.
And usually, whatever happens in the Black community, generally, you can literally draw a line and find its equivalent in the Black Islamic community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just messing with you, Hussein, man. I had some bad experiences too, man, but ain't nothing like the sisters.
I had some bad experiences too. Matter of fact, we should do a black Imams Roundtable or my bad experiences with marriage.
I think all of us, both men and women, have bad experience in marriages. Go with the turf. You know why? I think too, why we had so many bad experiences in marriage, because of the family breakdown in our communities. So we just be marrying without going through the process. Assalamu alaikum. Is that the outcast? You got to get your microphone, brother.
Wait, Andre the Outcast, is this the boy from the rapper?
No, I don't know, but his speaker's not working. You got to get your speaker, Habibi.
That's Andre 3 Stacks?
Brother Andre, your mic is not working. I don't know if you're on a phone or a computer. Check your audio settings. All right, can you hear? He's trying, but his microphone is not working. We can't hear you. Log out and log back in. Try it again. Are you on a computer or a phone? I'm gonna log. Yeah. You know what I like about this? You can't duck no wreck. Like, it's live. You can't duck wreck. You don't know what's gonna come at you.
Andre had the speaker bus.
Andre might be the shaker shakes and come check all y'all chins.
Yeah.
Right?
Andre had the speaker box, but he went for the love below.
We're just waiting for Brother Andre. Andre the Outcast. Anyone else has comments, question? There you go. Is it working now? I'm sorry, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
You're going to have to call Big Boy up or something, man. You ain't doing it by yourself.
You don't got no kids that know how to work stuff around you, no young peoples? He's trying, but it's just not working. Go into your settings where it say audio and then click it. It'll bring you on. It'll say your default. It'll bring you. You see on there it says cam and mic. Go inside there and click your microphone. Are you clear? Who's that? Y'all or Faheem?
What?
I hear him.
I don't hear him.
Who's that banging? That's you, Imam Faheem?
Oh, that might be my background.
Oh, he's gone. Well, type your question, bro. Sorry, we tried to get you in.
Now we've been waiting too long for you to release new music, Andre. It's bedtime for me, man. That's that Baduism got you still messed up.
or you should use Chrome. He might be using what's that called? That you got to come through to like Chrome or something like that. He says salam. So what's your question, Andre? We'll wait for you because I know you're trying. Try to type your question. Just make it brief, like 4 lines, and then do another 4 lines and keep posting. We'll get it. We're just trying to make sure we answer the question you're asking. Or you can use Firefox or Chrome. We really want to hear from you. We patient.
Meanwhile, can we get closer to 1,000?
None of us got no job. we all bored with nothing to do.
Who's that? 645?
How should we respond to Wahhabi Imams teaching at our masjids and organizations, but being tricky, not using the term Salafi? Use wisdom. Don't cause fitna. Right? Try to teach. That's just my advice. Some stuff, don't become a fitna maker. Or don't do stuff that make you seem like you're causing fitna. Seek education to the best way of your ability. And only do what you have the ability to do. Don't just argue and you can't really support what you're talking about. Better just to go advise and share what else. Like, don't try to be sheikh and you can't handle, I'm not saying you particularly, but don't cause fitna. Whatever you do, don't do that. And you should judge when you're causing fitna, when it's working and when it's not.
Yeah, just to add to that, that kind of like goes back to what I was saying earlier about a lot of communities in Philadelphia. A lot of, people who we may consider default Wahhabi or even Ahlul Sunnah, they'll have Wahhabis teaching at their masjids a lot of times because in their minds, they're not Wahhabis. They just, quote unquote Muslim. And if you see what's really going on, you could call it out and you may look like the troublemaker.
Right.
And like for example, a story my wife told me when when she was working, when she was living down south and she had a job, there was this one coworker that kept messing with her. But we do it like on a slide. Like, it's like always in their ear, nobody see it, saying little slick stuff, and behind, and Samira snapped on her, right? And everybody, in a work environment heard Samira snap. And so, the boss is coming over there like, Samira, calm down. Everything's okay. What's problem? And Samira's looking like the bad guy, but nobody saw what the coworker was doing. And so a lot of times this could be us, right? Everybody like, hey man, we learning Islam, and it wasn't a problem until you came talking this Ahlul Sunnah stuff, man. And you could be, looked at as a troublemaker because they don't really see what's going on, what they're being taught.
I got that in my city bad. In my city, you would think I'm the devil. Right? But you know what it is? I'm outnumbered. Right? Because we're the only Sunni masjid in the whole area. Right? That's like really Sunni. You got Bengalis who are Hanafi and Pakistanis, but they don't know anything. So the Wahhabis take their masjids and they're like, we follow Quran and Sunnah. These cab drivers, they don't know. right? You know what I'm saying? So they don't realize that this guy is a Wahhabi on the minbar. They don't know that. So Imam Amin, with his big old mouth, gonna call it. And what do they say? See, he's starting trouble, right?
Yeah.
But they're doing the same thing they accuse me of. They're actually doing it. His blood is lawful, blah, 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 blah. Nobody hear none of that.
Yeah,
Only
they don't never hear
me
that part.
saying the word Wahhabi. Right?
Ain't that deep how they never hear that part?
Never hear that. And it's said all the time, but they never hear that part. They only hear, man, he's aggressive. You know, he's you know, but think it's just one voice, one masjid, and everyone else saying we deviants. But they never heard that. They only hear when I say Wahhabi. They never heard that we're deviant, we're grave worshippers, Sufis. They never heard none of that. Only he said Wahhabi. That's all they hear. So be careful with that. You know, they started. Then when I respond, I'm the bad guy, right? They've been taking masjids. Our masjid was the first masjid in Atlantic City, right? They done deemed the masjid before me deviant, off the minhaj, ignorant. Then when I become the imam, we're no longer ignorant, we're just deviant, right? We're not ignorant. And before they was coming to the masjid to take over. And Imam Kari, rahimahullah, was very smart, handled them. They don't come back no more. But from the distance, I'm a deviant, right? And I'm like, okay, let's sit down and talk about the issues. We don't talk to deviants. But in the meanwhile, you're telling everybody else I'm a deviant. But you won't sit down and have that conversation, right? So it's easy to play that game. So be careful. Don't fall into that.
And yeah, you started an Aikido wars.
Yeah. And I got Sunnis that said about me, in my masjid.
They don't talk like that, Imam. I mean, come on, man. They don't go, don't do that, man.
How you going to start something that already started?
Jokers been in the own masjid, be like, man, all you got to do is lighten up. Right? What you mean lighten up? When you going to tell them to lighten up? If we could just get rid of Imam Amin, everything would go back to peaceful Wahhabi, right? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Oh, I guess he's done, man. But I want to say this. No debate, no argument, no raising of voices. Just a civilized conversation on the issue so that we understand why. Most people don't even understand what we're talking about. I discovered that. Like among us in our community, most people have no idea what we're talking about. They say they Salafi and don't even know what a Salafi is or Wahhabi. They have no idea. No idea. And most of this stuff, because it's so Arabic heavy, is way over their head. They don't know what you're talking about, right? So, and that's a mechanism to confuse you too. It's so Arabic top heavy that the person you're talking to don't even know what you're talking about. So we could be saying the same exact thing. Yeah, the barbershop's one of those places. Now I'm joking right now, stuff, right? Scud miss you right now, stuff. So a real discussion, keep it simple, clarify the issues, right? I'm always open for that. No arguing, no criticizing, no talking about individuals, right? Whereas, because once you start talking about people, the whole conversation goes somewhere else. Now my ego's hurt, none of that. What's the issue? If I don't understand something, you explain it. If you misunderstanding me, I'm going to explain it. And we're going to talk about the issue, not each other, right? If we could do that, that would be a great step, right? We're not going to argue. We're not going to debate. No one's going to walk out of here feeling less than. No matter how the discussion goes, no one's going to walk out with their pride hurt. We're not going to do that. We're going to have just the issue. This is what I understand. This is what you understand. This is why I understand. This is what you understand. This is what reach me. This is what reach you. And then we lay it all out just so you can understand. No debating, no trying to prove who's more knowledgeable than the other. None of that stuff. Just brothers and sisters having a peaceful knowledge search, fact-finding mission. And if the fact comes from you, alhamdulillah. It don't have to come from one of us. If you establish it, it doesn't matter. We just want the truth. We need to work with each other like that. And if we be like that, then it'll work. We can solve the issues because it ain't our problem. That's when I realized it's not our problem. This is an important problem that was given to us. And we should say, hey, we ain't had this problem before you came with it, and we're not going to have it when you're gone. We're going to learn to work it out ourselves. And I think if we have that approach, even if we disagree, we ain't going to hate each other.
I just want to add, because a lot of people, when they see it get, for lack of better words, hostile, a lot of times people don't understand that the hostility is built into their creed. We had 695, y'all. A lot of people don't realize that the hostility is built into their creed. That's why it's been broken up into 3 parts. The reason why they make a distinction between Tawheed Rububiyyah and Tawheed Uluhiyyah is so that they can accuse you of being like the pagans of Quraysh, Mushrikun. They want to be able to say that you believe in Allah like the pagans of Quraysh believe in Allah, but you worship other than Allah because they accuse you of calling on other than Allah and worshiping graves. See, they don't spell it out like that in plain English for you here in America, but that's built into their belief. In their belief, it's built into it that non-Wahhabis are kuffar, but they don't spell it out like that. In places where they have power and they have authority, like when all of these groups pop up like Boko Haram and ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they say it bluntly and straight out like that. That's what a lot of people in America don't understand, because they use words like deviant and he's off it and all that kind of stuff, covering the fact that if they're really true to their own creed and their own teachings, they don't see the rest of us as Muslims. They see us as kuffar, mushrikun. But a lot of us don't know that because we just say, oh, what's the difference? Allah's our Lord, right? We worship Allah, right? You got names and attributes, right? 3 onennesses. What's your problem? Right? We don't get it.
Yeah, but you know something? That's an educational issue, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Most of the people who claim that don't know what they're claiming. They have no clue at all. That's just, and if they be honest, I'll give you something. How many of us have heard this word? Or blind following, should I say, right? Blindly following, right? That's what they say, blind following the madhabs or blind following. Listen, there's no bigger blind follower on the planet Earth than them, right? blind following, there is no bigger blind follower on the planet Earth than them. So that's game. Blind following. No one blind followers more than you at all. Like, that's the biggest blind following in the planet. But they'll say blind following. And that's the false. Like, we follow the Sunnah. No, you blind follow a handful of sheikhs. That's it. And they can be named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And most of you don't even know all of them. Right? Your whole doctrine is blind following. Right? And that is a big issue. And you know, that's why they won't talk to you, because of blind following. Right? And here's my thing. If I'm such a deviant, and I'm not talking about me personally, I'm talking about the person, anybody. If the person is such a deviant, why you don't go teach them? Why you just call them a deviant? Why don't you go sit down? Yo, let me talk to you, brother. I know you want to be Muslim. And that goes to say, they treat you as if you kafir. I asked a person that, as I said, do they think I'm a kafir or something? Right? Because they didn't come talk to me about the issue. Right? And y'all saw me talk to big leaders, right or wrong. Y'all saw in America, face to face. Let's do it. We talk. I ain't running. As if, like, don't talk to. I ain't make my own religion, bro. Like, you can't talk to me. That's blind following. Because they told me, don't talk to him. Don't talk to Imam Faheem. How many times you've had that Imam? Don't talk to that joker. We in the same city, bro. What do you mean don't talk to me? You knew me before you even heard of these people. Don't talk to me. If that ain't blind following, I don't know what is. What you say, Imam Boomback?
Yeah. A lot. He ain't clear until the sheikh says he's clear. The sheikh died 20 years ago.
All right, we got to close out. But
okay, go ahead. Any plugs?
No, we good. Here go Malika with the name calling. Malika, didn't we say don't name call? And here you go. Poof, names out there.
All these notes you got, and that's what you write.
Right? We got a million stuff, real scholars that you could be talking about, and you go talk about some local Negroes. Right now, right? Like, come on, sis. You can do better than that. Now that's called gaslighting. She want to see a fight.
Yeah.
Right? I've been waiting for this rumble. Right? Throw their names out there, hope they respond. She can get a popcorn, take down her veil. Right?
That ain't the first time she did that tonight. They're like, yeah, I'd love to see us sit down with them in Germantown.
That's right. Yeah. Get them. Get yourself together. And then after the fight, gonna hide her hands. Wasn't me, right? Wasn't me.
Popcorn butter all around her lips.
And listen, so just to clarify, I think those people you named are good people. We just have differences in creed. I don't think they're bad people. I think they're sincere. I think they love Allah and His messenger. I just honestly believe that there's some things they weren't given. That's it. But I think they're good people. I have nothing in my heart towards either one of them, right? I think they're good people. If they could sit down and really like examine the issues without the, But there's a lot that go with that stuff, and you don't understand that. Like, especially at their level, you know, that stuff is vicious. They'll turn on them. They have turned on them. But let them start talking some real stuff. You get worse. So, you know, this stuff ain't all pretty. You know what I mean? So sometimes you gotta understand where people at. Some of it's money, some of it, my bread is involved with this. You know what I mean? I get caught with the wrong dude or sitting with the wrong person, I'm done. You know what I'm saying?
Wrong person snitch on me to the higher ups, cut my money off.
Serious stuff. Right? I give you some of them guys, they've come to my city, to Atlantic City. All of them been to Atlantic City, right? They talk about me, never to me. They'll come to the city, give a lecture about me, and never come to me. And I'm right there. Like, well known. But I understand, right? Come talk about me, but never to me. And you in the city. And the city is a 10-minute ride anywhere in the city. And you with people who knew me all their life, who know me personally, who know my family, who like they know me. And that's a disease, but I understand. So don't make it never personal. That's why I say don't mention names.
Yeah, we would love to have the discussion, just an open, honest dialogue, and we put that out there numerous times. So run, tell that.
and listen, really, 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 seriously, please, 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 keep in our mind where I've been on that list. I've been on that list for 30 years. That list is not new to me, right? Trust me, but it's all good. I don't get mad at that stuff, right? Because I understand. I understand when we're under all this pressure as a people from others. I understand. I don't get mad. I don't at all. I don't take it personal. And, I got that Malcolm feeling. Oh, he just hungry. He just hungry. He just needs something to eat. He hungry.
What are you, Masjid Muhammad's pimp?
Yeah, that's right. God's work ain't no hustle, brother. And for the record, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke. Smoke got me in prison. I don't want no smoke. Not trying to go to jail nor to the graveyard for nonsense. Right? So keep that in mind. I don't want no smoke. I ain't even looking for that. I'm looking for the truth, not smoke.
Man, we just love our people. We just want them to, come closer to the truth. Allah showed us something. We just trying to show everyone else.
But I mean it. I'm not
we love
no smoke. And
we
please
don't want no smoke,
me
but
none
listen.
because I ain't that pious. So I don't want no smoke. Don't bring me none. And you're welcome to come talk to me as a human being.
That's all I'm gonna say, because the smoke
I'm not that pious, so I don't want no smoke. And if you bring some smoke, I know myself. I'll be like, listen, man, I don't want no troubles. But since you want some trouble,
I'm gonna turn into a chimney.
So don't do that. I'm not interested.
You bring the smoke, I'm turning into a chimney. I'm handling it.
I have nothing to prove. I've lived that life, and it ain't pretty. Trust me, right? I don't want to live that life. I'm not interested. I want to be a pious person. I want to be a real Sufi, not a Negro trying to act like one. Right? Listen, I want to be a real Sufi, not a Negro trying to act like one. So don't let me be a Sufi. Leave me the heck alone. Right? If you can't wish me good, protect me from your evil. Right? All right, we good, man.
Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this program tonight. We thank all of you for tuning in and hanging out with us. You know, we're well over the time, but we appreciate your comments, your suggestions, your jokes, your questions. And we hope that we have been able to honor you tonight with some insight. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us, to forgive us, to overlook our faults and our shortcomings, and to make us better people for his sake. Amin. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Al-Fatiha.
I thought that was a good point. We should be more tactful in how we talk about people. I agree. People lose friendship, lose family over this stuff. We got to be more tactful. That means don't say the truth. Just be careful, man. We're trying to unify, not separate. You know, we're trying to bring hearts together, not distance them. But we still got to tell the truth. I'm sorry to over after the dua. Just al-asr or something. Great, Imam Naeem.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت واستغفرك واتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Barakallahu bikum. See y'all next week. There will be post-Fajr reflections and scattered thoughts tomorrow. So Imam Naeem don't got to be throwing stuff around and throwing tantrums. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.